All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Um, uh, uh, Yesterday, all right, what day is today? Yeah, about yesterday, or 2 days ago. We did a stream, okay, concerning the whole 4th of July, all right, and the Sabbath, all right, and Candace T asked a question, so that's what I'm gonna do in this video. I'm gonna answer the question, all right, which it says, question: I have always heard Christians say you shouldn't follow the Old Testament, and it was done away with when Yahushua was crucified. Notice I don't use the name Jesus because that's not his true name. All right. It says that you should now go by the New Testament. You may have explained before, but I don't know. Can you please touch on or explain this so I can understand? So I replied, I said, Lord willing, I'll do a video on it. All right. So here I am doing a video. Now, what you got to understand is when they say that, you shouldn't follow the Old Testament or the Old Testament was done away with, that is an invalid statement. Why? Because the New Testament, all right, is based on the Old Testament. What I mean is throughout the whole, the New Testament, because they like to break it up as though it's two different things. It's not. Okay, in the New Testament, all the information, all right, that the prophets got, okay, concerning prophecy, they got it all from the Old Testament. Because think about it, at the time of the New Testament, all right, at the time where Yahushua and Paul and Peter and them were alive and walking about, there wasn't a New Testament. It wasn't until afterwards that it was put together and comprised their writings, the different accounts of them, you know, and then it was put together as the Bible we have now. So back then, you'll notice, which I have a few precepts here, how they would refer back to the law or to the prophets, okay, to explain certain things. When you read in the writings and the letters of Paul, how many times did he refer back to oh, as it is written, or as saith the prophet Isaiah, da 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 da. Okay, so they were using what was written in the Old Testament, because you can't just say the Old Testament is done away with, because then why do churches still require you to pay tithes? They'll tell you the Bible says you got to pay tithes, right? But that's in the Old Testament. You see what I'm saying? And also in the Old Testament, there's prophecies, all right, that were written in there that have not been fulfilled yet. Now, the scriptures say that the Lord gave the word, okay, and his word is prophecy. So the scriptures say the word of the Lord will not come back void, but it will accomplish that which he sent it to accomplish. So if the Lord prophesied, for example, in the book of Isaiah, let me hold that here. Isaiah prophesied about the return of Yahushua, all right, to basically take down this man's kingdom, take down this place. That hasn't happened yet. So you can't close the book on Isaiah and say, oh, well, that's it. No, because some of these prophecies, we go back to the Old Testament to show you that they're happening now, or that they're about to happen. Joel, the second chapter, that goes into World War III, the nuclear missiles. So you can't say that the Old Testament is done away with. A lot of the prophecies are in the Old Testament. Okay? So now, this is Matthew chapter 5, verse 18. Matter of fact, let me put it on red letter mode. All right, so we know what's going on here. Okay, now this is the Messiah himself. Okay? He said, Matthew 5 and 17, think not that I am come to destroy the law. Where's the law written? The law is written in what we consider or call the Old Testament, right? It says, oh, look at that. Old Testament and New Testament together. It's funny because we're talking about that. But it says, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. Where the book of the prophets written? In the Old Testament. And now we have it both old and new. But when Yahushua was making the statement, he was referring to the Old Testament. It says, I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Meaning he didn't come to destroy or do away with what they wrote, but he came to fulfill it. All right, both in the law and the prophets. Because the prophets prophesied about Yahushua. Isaiah prophesied about Yahushua. Okay, Isaiah 7 and 14. All right, he said, this is Isaiah 7 and 14. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. All right, which is I'm now wa Allah, God be with you. All right, but now hold up. People gonna read this and say, oh, see, it says a virgin. Oh, well, Virgin Mary. When you go into the word virgin, all right, before I get my overall point, I just want to clarify this. When you go into the word virgin, it says alama, okay, alamaha, ma, alma. It says young, a virgin, young woman of marriageable age, or a maid or newly married, because there's two words for virgin in the scriptures. All right. Now, when you see alma, it's referring on to, like it says, a young woman of marriageable age. Now, there's another word for virgin, which is bathwala, which means a woman that has never had sex before. So when Isaiah said a virgin shall conceive, he wasn't talking about a woman that has never had sex before, but a young woman who was of marriageable age, which would have been Mary. All right, she was going to conceive through the act of sex with Joseph and have a son who was Yahushai. Okay, so hey, Isaiah prophesied about him. All right, and the prophecy. Look, Isaiah said that he would be born. Basically, the Messiah would come. So in the New Testament, when they were waiting for the Messiah, what how, the for example, let me see if I can find that account. Wise men. The wise men that came to find Yahushai, that Herod tried to deceive so that they could show him where the Lord was born. Okay, it should be Matthew 1, I think, or Matthew 2. Okay. Matthew chapter 2. I want to see if they mention it. Okay, all right, cool. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. I'll give you an example, right? This is Matthew 2 and 16, and I'll come back to the wise men. Um, Matter of fact, man, this is good stuff. All right. This is Matthew 2 and 12. It says, and being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. This is talking about Joseph. It says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, and saying, arise. Yep. Saying, arise and take the young child, which is Yahushai, and his mother Mary, and flee into Egypt, because you could do that. You didn't need to take a ship. All right. And be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Now, the prophet that said this, all right, where was that at? Was that not in the Old Testament? Okay, matter of fact, let's see if we can find that precept that it's referring to. Cross reference. It might be this. Let's see if I could cross reference this as well and see what they give us. Okay. So I think it might be this. Hosea 11 and 1. It says, when Israel was a child, then I loved them and called my son out of Egypt. Okay, which, obviously spiritually or literally historically is referring to Israel, because the Lord did call us out of or take us out of Egypt, all right, by deliverance of Moses. Okay, but I'm pretty sure it might be this precept that is referring to. All right, there might be another one, but this was quoted off in Matthew. Okay, like we just read. Okay, but the point that's being made is that they're making reference to this Old Testament that these so-called Christians are saying is done away with. All right, when the Lord was crucified or when he came on the scene. But I'm gonna go back to Matthew, when it's gonna show you that the Lord himself said, I'm not here to destroy or do away with the Old Testament or the prophets or the law. No, I'm here to fulfill it. Okay. Now, going back to the wise men, how did the wise men know? Okay. How did the wise men know to come to Yahushua? You know, because it was prophecy. All right. Oh, matter of fact, let me see. Damn, the precept escapes me at the moment, but you know what? We'll just go back to Matthew. So this is what Yahushua said. He said, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily, meaning truly, I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall not pass, or shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Okay? So even in the time of what we would call the New Testament, the Lord was telling you, no, I'm not doing away with the Old Testament. All right? Everything in there is going to be valid, man. And that's why when you go to Luke, all right, this is after now. Remember, she asked, okay, because Christians say that you shouldn't follow the Old Testament because it was done away with when Yahushua was crucified, right? Now this is Luke 24. This is after he was crucified and rose from the dead, all right? And he came to these two men, okay? I believe they were disciples, all right, or followers of the gospel. And let me see. Let me just read through it. All right. So this is Luke 24:13. And behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to, now what were they talking about? They were talking about, because now there's rumors about, you know, people are saying that Yahushua's disciples came and took the body away or overnight. You know, and then you got, you know, the women saying, oh no, we saw him. The angel said that he had already rose up from the dead. So you got a lot of talk going on. So they're talking about it. All right, but they hadn't seen, at this point, nobody had seen Yahushua yet. So it says, and it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Yahushua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. So basically what the Lord did was he basically restricted their recognition of him to where they couldn't tell that it was Yahushua, you know. So you know, like you might see somebody that you feel like you know them, you feel like you recognize them, but then you can't put your finger on it. All right, and the Lord did that for a reason. It says, and he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk and are sad? You know, so what's going on? What are y'all talking about that you know got y'all all down? You know, what's going on? It says, and one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering, said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem? So notice how they're talking to him because they don't know it's Yahushua. Why? Because he basically disguised, you know, like I don't know what he did specifically, but as it says, their eyes were holden. All right. So something had happened to them to where they couldn't recognize him as Yahushua. Okay. So it says, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and has not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? Why? Because it was a big talk. You know, it wasn't just a small little whispers. No, it was a big talk. All right, talk of the town, so to speak. So they're like, "Yo, are you a stranger? Like you don't live here? You know, because if you live here, you would have heard about what's going on. You know, where you living under a rock or something." So it says, and he said unto them, "What things?" Obviously, he knew what things, but he was toying with them. It says, and they said unto him, concerning Yahushua of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before the Most High and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. Because why? Because the Messiah was supposed to come and deliver us, you know, put us on top. But they thought that when he came 2,000 years ago, that's when it was going to happen. No, first he had to come and die to cleanse us, and then when he comes again, he can basically present us, all right, you know, as that, you know, that bride, you know, and give us the kingdom. They thought they were going to get the kingdom back then because they were under the Romans. So they're thinking, okay, Yahushua is here. He's going to take the Romans down. You know, that's why the Pharisees and stuff, they didn't want to accept him as the Messiah because they're saying, how the hell are you supposed to deliver us and take down? You're supposed to come majestically. You're supposed to come in your power and great glory. When you read in Isaiah 63, Isaiah 66, they talk about Yahushua coming back in great wrath, all right, to take down these kingdoms, you know, which he's going to do that this time around. Now, that prophecy hasn't been fulfilled yet, so you can't close the book on Isaiah, you know. Psalms 2 and 8, we're going to possess these heathens. We haven't got them, so you can't close the book, you know. So the whole, and the scriptures say, eat the whole roll. All right. It didn't say just eat the New Testament or eat the Old Testament. No, because it's all linked. Okay. It all flows together. Sometimes you might need to get a precept from the Old Testament to back up what you're saying in the New Testament. So when they try to divide it as like two separate things, that's off. Then you're taking away from the word. All right. Because had the Old Testament been irrelevant, the Lord wouldn't have had it put together. Anyway, let's keep going. So it says, but we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they found not his body, they came, saying that they had seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even so as the woman had said, but him they saw not. Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all the prophets, or all that the prophets have spoken. Once again, where was that? In the Old Testament. It says, ought not the anointed to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory? Now check this out. And beginning at, now this is after the Lord had risen from the dead. He had already been crucified, right? It says, and beginning at Moses, which is in the Old Testament, and all the prophets, talking about the Old Testament, he expounded unto them in the scriptures the things concerning himself. So now after Yahushua had rose from the dead and he met these men, he started to explain to them, now why didn't he go to the book of Paul, Corinthians, or the book of Matthew, or the book of Luke? Because he was the book of Luke, book of Matthew and all that talking about Yahushua, he was there at the time. So there wasn't no such thing as the book of Luke or the book of Matthew. Okay? So it says he was expounding to them concerning himself, concerning the Messiah, the anointed Yahushua, from where? From the Old Testament. When he went into the temple, okay? Remember, it says he was 12 years old and he was up there breaking down scriptures. What scriptures do you think he was breaking down? He was breaking down what the writings of the prophets, the law. Okay? So it says, and beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded them or onto them in the scriptures, in all the scriptures, the things concerning himself. So he went into this prophet, Moses said this and this said that. So now if the Old Testament is not valid, okay, then why was he going in there, all right, to expound concerning himself? Another thing is also, that's where you got the laws. You know? Now the laws, they'll tell you the laws are done away with. The laws ain't done away with. Okay? Because when the Most High comes, he's going to, pursuant to Isaiah the 13th chapter, he's going to destroy the sinners out of the land. Now what is sin? 1 John 3 and 4 tells you that sin is transgression of the law. And Paul said, where there is no law, there is no sin, right? So if the law is done away with, then there should be no law. That means there should be no sin. You can't have a sinner without sin. So why did the Lord, through Isaiah, say that he was going to destroy the sinners out of the land in this day and age? Okay, if the law is done away with, then there should be no sinners. All right, it shows you that the flawed logic that these Christians or these so-called Christians try to present to you. All right, now I had this here. Mark chapter 1 verse 1, it says, the beginning of the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, the Son of the Most High, as it is written in the prophets, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight. That was John the Baptist. But the key part I wanted to get is here, as it is written in the prophets. That's referring where? To the Old Testament. Okay, so all throughout the New Testament, they're constantly referring to the Old Testament because that's the writings that they had. It wasn't until later on that now we have the whole book together, and now people want to act like, oh, New Testament, Old Testament, I believe in only the New Testament, or I believe in only the Old Testament. But the Lord said this. I believe it's Revelation 10. Okay, let me see. All right, Revelation chapter 10, verse 8. It says, "And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me." Now this is John John the Revelator, or the Apostle John, all right, on the island of Patmos, where he was banished. So it says, and or where he was sentenced, all right, to serve on the island of Patmos. It says, "And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book," and the little book represents the scriptures, the whole scriptures, all right, "which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey." Now what that means is the information, the truth. All right. Your mouth, when you first eat, the first place that your food gets contact with is your mouth before it goes down to your stomach or your belly. All right, to get digested. So when you first hear this truth, that's that tasting phase. You know, it's in your mouth. It's sweet as honey because you're hearing, we're gonna get, delivered. We're gonna get new bodies. The Lord is gonna give us a kingdom that's eternal. You know, we're gonna be immortal. All right, we're gonna have whatever we want. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna live a good life. When you hear that, you're like, whoa, this is good news. You know, you first hear this truth, it makes you feel good. I'm a chosen, I'm part of the chosen nation of the Lord. But then over time, it becomes bitter because then you got to deal with okay, now I know this, but just these prophecies ain't gonna happen right when I get it. Well, when I find out, they're gonna happen when the Lord has set them to find out. So then you got to go into the wait, the patience. You know, damn man, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years, 10 years. But you got to be patient. That's a part of the bitterness. On top of that, when you teaching this truth, or when you telling people about it, and they separate themselves from you, they ridicule you, they look at you like man, you want some other type of time. That's also a part of the bitterness. Okay. It says, verse 10, "And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter." All right. Now the point I wanted to get is what the Lord told him to eat, to take the book, all right, and to eat it up. He didn't say eat just the Old Testament or the New Testament and leave half. No, he said eat it. All right. Now I get another precept. Oh, I think it's Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. Yep, Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel." Okay, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. All right, which is what John was talking about. Okay, so what? Ezekiel had to eat the roll and go and teach the house of Israel. So when we're teaching, okay, for us to teach our people who they are, how are we gonna do that? And we can't use the Old Testament because it's it's null and void. That doesn't make sense. Okay, we got to go into the Old Testament. For example, I'll give you another prophecy. All right, Ezekiel chapter 37. All right, the valley of the dry bones. This is something that we're doing now. This is a prophecy we're seeing right now. All right, because this goes into us waking up to the fact that we're Israelites. All right, us going out there with the 12 tribes sign. Okay, that's all part of it, but that's in the book of Ezekiel. Now, if we can't use the Old Testament, how are we gonna explain to them? All right, like for example, Ezekiel chapter 37 right here. Um, Let me see. It says they shall ask. Yep. Ezekiel 37 and 16. It says, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hands. All right. Now I want to look up stick. Let's see what they got. All right, it says here, tree, wood, timber, stock, plank. Okay, now plank, if I get an image, plank, wood. All right, this is a plank. It's like a board. All right, so on that board, we have Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Ephraim, all the way on down. All right, it's not talking about like a little twig. Okay, on a twig you can't write all this. All right, you can't write all the 12 tribes on a twig. Okay, so it says we gotta take the stick, continuing on, and we'll put them with. Oh, Salakia. I jump down. Back in Ezekiel 37 and 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and will make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. So that's what we tell them, that look, they'll say, well, what's this about? And we'll explain to them, look, these are the 12 tribes of Israel, which are you today. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's you. You're not Puerto Rican. You're an Ephraimite. That's your biblical name. Okay. One more thing. You go to the book of Deuteronomy. That's one of the key chapters, the 28th chapter, for us to find out who we are today. Based on the curses, because the Lord cursed. He said, look, these are the blessings and these are the curses that will befall the children of Israel if they obey my laws. And if they disobey my laws, these are the curses that will befall them. Right? Now, how do we know, all right, or what's one way we know that we are those children of Israel? Is because we go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and we read about the curses that the Lord said will befall the children of Israel for all their generations until he takes the curse off. And then we look around the world today and we say, okay, who or what people on the planet Earth are suffering these curses? And once we find those people, we can identify that they are the same, or their forefathers are the same people that got cursed for breaking the laws. So that's how we tell who the Israelites are today. Now, how will we do that if the Old Testament was invalid, according to what these so-called Christians say? And it shows you how they want to use it to their favor. Because even on a small level, like I mentioned earlier, they'll tell you that you got to pay your tithes. Damn near all churches require or ask for tithes, right? Well, where's the law on paying tithes? In the Old Testament. So why are you saying the Old Testament is done away with, but then you want us to pay tithes? Isn't that from the Old Testament? You see what I mean? You want to keep that part of the law, but then the part about not eating pork and all that stuff, oh, no, we don't do that. So hey, that's just hopefully that explained or brought some light to the confusion or your question. Okay. Look, man, the Lord commanded us to basically eat the whole roll, which means to learn the Old and New Testament, because they're equally important. Okay, for you to get the complete understanding. All right, but I'm gonna end it off here, Lord willing. This was edifying and informative to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakha, Kwadash. Until next time, Shalom.